Please welcome, from Gartner Research and Advisory, Distinguished Vice President Analyst and Gartner Fellow Rita Sallam and Vice President Analyst Kurt Schlegel.
Hey, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our data party.
Good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, Deb Logan is unable to join us today, but you've got me. And it's so great to be here today with all of you. Look around at the collective knowledge and experience in this room. There are over 4,000 data and analytics leaders here this week, and you are the reason we love our jobs. In my 15 years at Gartner, I've met and advised thousands of people, as has Kurt and all of our analyst colleagues. And I can honestly say I've learned from everyone. This year's conference theme is about you as leaders. It's about you finding your purpose and impacting your organizations. One of the people whose story fits perfectly with this theme is Britta Anderchek. Britta is the Chief Data Officer of the City of Dallas. And Britta has a story about how she came to be in her role. She found her purpose. She found her inspiration. And it's had some amazing impacts for the citizens of Dallas. Let's take a look.
So I was teaching social problems at a university, and my students would take on different social issues. And one of them took on homelessness. And we solved homelessness in 45 minutes. And I was walking through the leafy green quad on my way back to my office after class. And I thought to myself, shouldn't I at least try? Shouldn't I at least try to solve that problem? How did I take this out of the classroom and actually apply those skills to a real life social problem? And so you can call it an existential crisis or a moment of truth about meaning and what I wanted to do. But that was how I began to chart my transition from thinking and talking about social problems in a classroom to working on them every day at the City of Dallas. One of my very first assignments at the City of Dallas was to work on crash data. The City of Dallas wanted to reduce the number of fatalities and severe injury accidents we had on our roads. And it's easy to not be concerned about a traffic accident, right? But the reality is that can completely change someone's life when their loved one doesn't come home from work, from the store, from school as expected. And so we started looking at crashes in the city. Where were they happening? Was it a one-off situation, or were there patterns? Were there patterns in the data? And we collaborated with traffic engineers and transportation planners to look at our areas of most concern and make tremendous amounts of changes. The City of Dallas has earned over $65 million in grants to make improvements at intersections where we knew we had a crash problem. And the incredible thing now is we've been doing this for enough years that we have before and after data. And we can actually see that fatal and severe injury crashes have gone down at those intersections. So we don't know whose life we've saved, who we've actually sent home to their family that night, but the number's going down. And so somebody didn't have that accident that ended their life. And that's an incredible feeling to know that we're able to send people home safely to their families. And data was incredibly powerful in helping make that happen.
Wow. That's a great example of the impact we could all have with data and analytics. Now, you may or may not work in an organization where the purpose of your work is so clear, but whatever your situation or role, identifying the true purpose of your work is the key to connecting with stakeholders, building trust, and making impact. But we know it's not that easy.
This is the data from the 2023 Chief Data and Analytics Officer Survey. These are the top 6 challenges you face. Now notice what they all have in common. 5 of them are people-related. Skills shortages, lack of business engagement, not enough authority, cultural changes to accept change, and poor data literacy throughout the organization. Notice, technology is not the solution to our most significant challenges. Now, technology, of course, is foundational to everything we do, which is why you'll hear a lot about technology, all kinds of technology, all throughout the conference.
But technology alone is not enough. I mean, how many of you have introduced some amazing technology only to have it fail in the hands of other people? I mean, many of you have brilliant technology that's not used anywhere close to its full potential. It doesn't matter if your data catalog is a thing of beauty and your advanced analytics is state of the art if nobody's using them. And we all know we still have people using spreadsheets to analyze their data. I mean, I feel your pain.
We really do. And many business stakeholders still don't see the connection between what we do and what matters in their world. They don't fully understand what we do. We haven't managed to fully understand them either. Until we bridge the gap, we continue to risk all the hard work we do in data and technology programs. And that's why it's so important to lead with purpose in mind, like Kurt said. Understanding stakeholder purpose, sharing yours, linking both to the strategic mission of the organization. So today's keynote will help you find new ways to identify the purpose in the work you do. Connect with your colleagues and your clients, and build trust in order for us to have the impact we want to have with the technology and data programs we are delivering. Now, if that seems outside of your control or your sphere of influence, well, I'm guessing there are plenty of people in this room that feel the exact same way. I'm just one person. We're just one team. The CDAO is only one executive at the table. But the truth is, none of us can do this alone. But you do have the power to make an impact. When you walk out of this room today, you will know exactly what that power is and how to use it to do just that. What we'll do in the next 40 minutes is to show you how you can identify the purpose, your purpose, on 3 different levels. At a personal level, how can you be a more effective leader? At a team level, how do you build and develop a better team? And at the organizational level, how to have more impact, which is where we're going to start.
So let's first hear from one of your peers about how she overcame challenges at the organizational level. Now, Kapu's story illustrates the importance of connection to individual stakeholders. She spent time with a difficult client, but once she understood his objectives and his concerns, turns out he wasn't so difficult after all. Let's take a look.
As a data analytics leader, it requires breaking down the silos and bringing people from across various functions and domain areas, which is actually a cultural change than a technological change. And it's a monumental task, and it is not easy. So initially, there is a lot of resistance, but at some point, you see when you're making the headway, the people you are supporting, the business leaders, when they start telling their success stories, where they are the heroes, how they are utilizing data and analytics to drive their business, which is actually our value story. I learned through my experience when I was leading a major initiative in a big and complex organization. I was unaware of one of the key stakeholder and his interests. And because of that, I wasn't able to make progress with my project. So later on, I realized that I needed to build relationship with this person. So it took a few meetings to build a positive and trusted relationship with him and understand what his objectives are and his concerns are, and address those to put the project back on track. So, as I said, especially when you're leading a change initiative at the enterprise level, you need to understand the needs of all the key stakeholders and build partnership with them.
Kapoo succeeded by actively listening to her stakeholders. And that sort of approach takes time. But as her story illustrates, it's time well spent. Our annual survey tells us that 2/3 of us are still struggling to deliver a clear message around ROI. Frankly, we disagree. You are providing value, but what many of you aren't doing is communicating that value. And it's time we fix this problem.
We need a new way to think and talk about value. We need a Rosetta Stone that clearly links and translates technical outcomes to business outcomes. The new enterprise value equation is a new framework created by Gartner to develop a value story by addressing 3 of our most important and perennial challenges. First, it helps you master the language of business. Now, I know we've been talking about this for a long time, like forever, I know that. But you know what? Let's just get it done. And we're still seeing slides like this being shared with business peers. You know it, the long list of technology initiatives. And what's the look when you show them this long list? Blank stares, you know, the performative head nodding. And here's what they're thinking, and you know it. When are you going to start talking about something that matters to me? Am I right? Yes. So the enterprise value equation helps you focus your messaging on the specific benefits for specific stakeholders in the context of the overall business strategy. And this will shift the focus from cost to value generation.
Second, the Gartner Enterprise Value Equation helps you build robust business cases as opposed to what we usually do, which is more of a belief case, right? We often ask for investments based upon belief because, let's face it, formal business cases take too much time and effort to write. It's so much faster just to use the right magic words. But without a good business case, can we really act surprised when value doesn't materialize? Anybody remember Hadoop? I mean, what's the magic word of 2023? It's got to be ChatGPT, right? And now, you will get funding for ChatGPT. I'm not worried about that because everyone, because it is SNT compliant, and everyone from toddlers to CEOs like shiny new things. But even with ChatGPT, one thing is clear. Your executives will come back, and they're going to ask what they got for their money. Now, is ChatGPT something you should be investigating in? Absolutely. Is it something you should drop a pile of money on right now? Probably not, at least not yet. Generative AI is a business and technology game changer, yes, with short, medium, and long-term consequences. And for those of you who missed the birth of the commercial internet, well, welcome to the birth of commercial generative AI. It will be as transformative as the internet, and we will experience many of the same highs and lows that have played out over the last 20 years. Generative AI is still in its infancy, and it's really too early to say what even next year is going to look like. So stay informed, stay skeptical, and you're going to hear plenty more about ChatGPT and a whole bunch of other game-changing technologies throughout this conference.
Okay, so let's get back to the enterprise value equation, although it's super fun talking about shiny new things. The third benefit of all of this is about articulating the strategic long-term value of data, not just short-term ROI. I know we're all addicted to tactical fixes and quick wins supported by ROI, which is often a checkbox exercise to get funding. Typical ROI focuses on tactical, short-term financial returns like revenue and cost. The value equation provides a clear way to also identify long-term financial influencing impacts, like brand value, like innovation. And these are key drivers in today's organization. Here's some proof. When you actually calculate it, financial influencing drivers account for 90% of the S&P 500 market value. And what that means is that the market is putting a value premium on companies that generate their return from financial influencing outcomes. And yet, these factors are often missed, if not completely excluded, from traditional ROI models.
So let's take a look at how the enterprise value equation works. The model connects your stakeholders' priorities with your own data and analytic initiatives, right? And these are the value enablers. It then connects both of these to individual stakeholder impacts through a value story. It's the value story then shows how to measure those outcomes and the return they bring to the organization, and then what you need to do to adjust.
So let's bring this into specific use cases in our world. Data governance, data lakes, data quality, advanced analytics tools, they're all foundational investments with long payback periods often. And these are foundations we know we must lay, but they're difficult to tie to business outcomes. Or are they? A large equipment manufacturer had the strategic priority of maximizing profitability from multi-year fixed-price service contracts. The data team identified that they needed a single source of truth and predictive modeling. But approaching the business with this language led to, you guessed it, the eye glaze over, right? Using the value equation in partnership with the business, they identified that because of higher quality governed data, the business could then more accurately predict parts failure rates, lower supplier risk and cost, and shorten customer downtime. These were the metrics that the general manager cared about, because this is how he and his team are measured in terms of their performance. Less downtime influenced future purchases and allowed them to charge a premium price. All great for the brand. Now, with these outcomes in hand, they created KPIs to measure the actual return of each of these impacts. And what was wonderful about this implementation of the model was that the CDAO then went from facing significant resistance, which we all do with data governance, right, to finally getting business buy-in for these foundational investments.
Another example was a large retailer that used the Gartner Enterprise Value Equation to translate tech speak into business outcomes, to get the buy-in for the foundational investments they needed. Now, this company had a strategic priority around sustainability, to reduce their carbon footprint by 30% in the year 2027. And the team, they knew the foundational investments, sustainability AI and FinOps, would enable them to more accurately understand the organization's carbon footprint. But instead of just focusing on the technology story, they used the value equation to communicate the impact they would have, such as identifying eco-friendly suppliers and opportunities to consume less energy. They created KPIs directly linked to those business impacts, such as the percentage of products sustainably sourced and the percentage of waste recycled. And this demonstrated the value back to the business stakeholders. So the enterprise value equation creates those outcome-driven metrics. They show you what you need to do to adjust and how you can continue and achieve those impacts back to the business.
Nicola Hopkins is a data leader who successfully communicated with business stakeholders and delivered between 8 and 9 million euros in revenue. Let's take a look.
Results is the name of the game. We need to increase revenue, reduce cost, and reduce risk. But really, we need to bring the people on the journey. I honestly believe it's people first and tech second. And more importantly, in trying to demonstrate the value of our projects, we needed to think differently. So, you know, in the old days, we used to think about downtime and number of releases and number of usage in terms of minutes and sessions. Well, today we built a platform called Operational Intelligence, and that tells us more about the types of users. So in our products, are they more brokers or client executives or sales executives or management? Are they located in one area or one country, one region? Are we helping more the new business or existing business? And really, by gathering this information and studying Hung Lee Hong's research, we were able to demonstrate the big picture. So last year, we helped 244 clients across 49 countries. Not bad.
So Nicola's story illustrates the power of focusing on the value story for shareholders, stakeholders, revenue, cost, and risk. She got her foot in the door by promising value even in the face of significant resistance. But her persistence and willingness to take risks, they paid off. So let's summarize what we've talked about at the organizational level. Connect data and analytics strategy to the organization's mission-critical priorities, its purpose for existing, and the people it serves using the enterprise value equation. Now, this is especially important when it comes to long-term foundational investments in technology and programs like data governance, like self-service analytics, data literacy, and yes, innovative experiments, shiny new things like generative AI.
Also, we want to build value stories for the individual stakeholders to better speak the language of business, which is always about their goals, their objectives, and their metrics, not necessarily your own.
Identify and measure both financial and financial influencing value to capture short-term ROI, yes, but longer-term impacts on the organization.
Okay, so getting all this done at the organizational level is going to require some really, really good people. So let's move on and start talking about how to develop and build the best team possible. And despite all the upheaval, with the tech layoffs that we're hearing about and everything going on with Silicon Valley Bank, data and analytic professionals are still in short supply. Our survey data shows that skill shortages is still a top concern for data leaders. So roles are still hard to fill. How do you build the team that you need? You need a data and analytics talent strategy, right? This is not a hiring frenzy. And also, you, as a data and analytics leader, have to do this. You must work with HR to create it. So your talent strategy should focus on 3 pillars: recruitment, retention, and development. And contrary to conventional wisdom, which focuses on recruitment, who do we hire? Talent development is the place to start. To keep and develop the team you need to think about a new employee value proposition tailored just to data and analytic professionals. Working together as a team, they need to find meaning and purpose. If we believe this, 1 in every 2 employees agree that they don't have meaning and purpose in their work. That's kind of scary, isn't it? 1 out of 2. I got purpose. You got purpose?
I got purpose.
I got purpose.
Yeah, I totally
All right.
got
So it's not us.
yeah.
Don't look at us.
No, it's not us.
But there are people who don't have purpose, right? And
but
we've
not
got to
us.
fix that. And how do you fix that? Your team needs to find its why. Why does your organization spend millions, tens of millions, and for some of you, hundreds of millions of dollars each year on their data and analytic initiatives? Answering that why question is the key to leading with purpose and making an impact. But here's the tricky part. The answer to the question is not intellectual, it's more emotional. Simon Sinek, he wrote the book Start With Why back in 2009, and to this day, his TED Talk on the subject is still among the 10 most popular of all time. According to Sinek, most leaders describe in great detail what they do and how they do it. But great leaders first communicate why they do it.
People work for intrinsic rewards. We all look for meaning in the things that make us feel good about ourselves and what we're doing. Connection, recognition, gratitude, discovery of all things that humans seek. And they release feel-good hormones, promoting happiness while reducing depression and anxiety. Daniel Pink, author of Drive, uses the phrase that there's a mismatch between what science knows and what business does. What science knows is that extrinsic rewards only go so far. It's the intrinsic rewards that really matter. Neuroscience tells us that one of the most powerful intrinsic motivators is our desire to make sense of the world and look for new experiences. Seeking new patterns, exploring new territory, going where no one has gone before, are all behaviors which have made us the most dominant species on Earth. And great news, you actually don't need money or management position to tap into intrinsic motivation. You just need to understand how it works. And we're analytics people. We're always looking for insights in a world with way too much information. As analytics people, we're strongly motivated to find out why the world works the way it does. And we want to attract people who share our sense of awe for the great analytical thinking, which includes not just data and analytics specialists, but also domain experts who share the same motivators that we do. Troy Carmichael is someone who thinks differently about who he hires and how he hires. Troy is a technology guy, through and through, but he doesn't emphasize particular technical skills when he's hiring. Let's find out how he does it.
I hire for curiosity. To me, that's probably the most important part of anyone who joins our team. And you can find them through all walks of life. What I love about curiosity, curiosity is not satisfied with not knowing. Almost can't resist to find that next answer. I've had people work for me from careers you wouldn't really even think were indicative of being great data people, and I could list a bunch of those things. It would just surprise you. But the thing they all had in common was that curiosity. But because they were curious, we ended up with an amazingly diverse group of people, all walks of life, all types of experiences, and that also contributes to greater success, I believe, when you start producing value for the company as a team. I would prefer to bring someone in junior with that curiosity and then let them learn along the way, because there's nothing that we do that can't be learned if you're curious and willing to learn.
So hire for curiosity. Given the talent situation in the data and analytics function, you've got nothing to lose here. Be bold, work with HR, take a risk, hire for curiosity. And when it comes to hiring, we can't afford to leave any stone unturned. We should be recruiting by every means available: college interns, external consultants, and most importantly, internal recruits. In our HR practice, analysts talk about quiet hiring, and it's something maybe you should consider. Quiet hiring focuses on retention and redeployment of your existing resources. It emphasizes internal talent mobility and deploying against your most important priorities, but with no change in headcount. Jonathan Young has been investing in untested talent for a long time now. He hires for aptitude and willingness to work. He's been successful because he encourages people and gets them to believe in himself. Here's Jonathan.
The main way I encourage people in my team to succeed is to tell them that they can, and to tell them that I'm there to help them to succeed. So an example would be a young man who left the Marines with 2 GCSEs. He's now 4 years on. He has a master's degree in computer science, and he's being chased by people, other employers, on an almost weekly basis, all because he was told that he could do it, but most importantly, that he believed that he could do it, and he believed me when I told him.
So Jonathan's story demonstrates the power of quiet hiring. be deliberate about providing opportunities for people to experience those intrinsic rewards. When you focus on retention and development first, you create a virtuous cycle that helps you to retain talent and attract new people who share your purpose, your beliefs, and your values.
So if you want to exploit quiet hiring and spread a data-driven culture throughout your company, open a data and analytic franchise. Think about it. The franchise has proven itself repeatedly as the ideal business model to scale the sharing of best practices. I mean, what is a franchise but a way to bring a globally consistent way of doing things to a local market? That's exactly what we're trying to do with data and analytics, right? We can use the franchise metaphor as a way to scale the impact that our centralized data and analytics team can have throughout the organization, making trusted connections as we go. And one of the things I really like about the franchise metaphor is that the franchise promotes global consistency, right? The global consistency that we need. Consistency of data definitions, consistency of performance measures, consistency of technology standards. But while promoting that consistency, a franchise also accommodates, right? It accommodates regional variance, right? Which we also need. We need to allow departments to sometimes define their own data definitions, calculate their own measures, and use their own technology. It's this flexibility between global consistency and regional variance that's the key to the acceptance of the franchise idea. So how can you implement an analytical franchise in your company? Make a list of all the departments in your company that could benefit from an analytics franchise. Inventory the people and the process and the technology that they use every day. But I want you to focus on the people skills, right? Meet with those individuals and recruit them to become franchise owner-operators by turning their ragtag assembly of data mungers and data wranglers and citizen data scientists into a true cross-functional team that implements similar data integration, similar analytical processes, and similar technology over time. You don't need to start everywhere across the whole company, right? Every well-known franchise that you can think of started as one establishment. So pick your favorite department, right? You know those guys, right? They're the ones that are doing it right. They're easy to work with, right? These are the people with the right skills. They're already making a big business impact. Start there. Codify what they're doing and brand that as your data and analytics franchise. And then replicate this model neighborhood by neighborhood, department by department throughout your company. So, to summarize the team section, first, start with why. Communicate your why, your purpose, and attract people to your team who believe what you believe. Understand and tap into intrinsic motivation when you're building your team. And we want you to make bold and unconventional choices, right? Like quiet hiring and opening analytical franchises.
So let's move on to the next section and talk about you. How are you feeling about all of this? Do you feel like you personally have the skills you need to drive meaningful change, to overcome cultural barriers and create a data-driven culture? In our latest survey, only 30% of CDAOs say they're committed to their own professional self-development. And yet the data speaks for itself. The percentage of leaders committed to their own professional self-development is positively correlated with individual, team, and organizational success. In other words, if you spend time building your own skills, it benefits not only you, but also your team and your organization. You're the one thing in life you have even a little bit of control over. So take charge of your own professional and personal development. You're here, so it's a great start.
Cultural challenges to accept change, though, is a perennial favorite in our Chief Data and Analytical Officer survey. I think for 8 years, respondents have said it's one of their top challenges. And this is hard, right? I mean, in order to change culture, you've got to change people's minds. And that's the key to changing their behavior. Cultural change, though, happens one person at a time. But you are the catalyst, right? And you know, for the next 10 minutes, actually, forget about culture. Forget about scaling to the enterprise level. Scale back and just focus on what you see around you, right? Because we use these terms like enterprise-wide and scalability so much, we've almost forgotten that most things we do, most initiatives we're involved with, happen at more of a human scale. Remember, you can't change everybody everywhere all at once. Good movie, right?
It was a great
Oscar
movie.
Yeah.
So good.
What matters are good ideas, good relationships, and personal power, right? That personal power manifests itself in the clarity of your thought, your perseverance, your patience, and your persistence.
So here's a leadership model that will help you. The socially centered leader. This is a model that Gartner originated over 10 years ago, and we've been continuously using it and testing it with clients, including the leaders you've seen in today's videos. The model answers the question, what does it take to lead effectively? And it's a balance of understanding, of feeling, and of doing. Head, heart, and Hara. Now, the number 3 is really fascinating. It seems to have a particular significance for humans, and certainly there are thousands of leadership models and frameworks, many citing 3 elements. The mind, the body, and the spirit concept is also present in philosophy and religion, drama, and art of all kinds, all over the world.
So Rita's a little more worldly than I am, right? And when she first described this idea to me, she could tell I didn't get it. So she said, Kurt, let me put it in terms that you can understand. Spock, McCoy, and Captain Kirk, right? Like a light bulb, man. Once I heard that Star Trek reference, the idea clicked. And most of us are data people probably gravitate towards Spock, right? We're all into the intellectual, the rational, right? The planning, the data. And we've given you a new tool, right? The Gartner Enterprise Value Equation. That's a translation tool that speaks to that intellectual and rational self, right? About the plan, how you know your stuff, and how I can help you do what you need to do to meet your goals, drive your business outcomes, and connect with your organization's mission.
Now, most of us, whether we realize it or not, also know how to lead from the heart. Emotional intelligence is present in almost all humans in varying degrees. Of course, there are 4% of us who are psychopaths, so not them. But for most of us, emotional intelligence can be developed and improved upon with practice. The simplest, easiest, and best way to learn from the heart? Listen. Listen to the person in front of you. What are their challenges? What are their aspirations? What does success mean in their world? The heart appeals to our intrinsic motivation to work with others, to belong, to be recognized. For many of us, purpose and meaning in our work comes from the positive impact on other people's lives and on our own. The final quality that a leader needs to demonstrate is Hara. Hara is a Japanese word that doesn't have an exact English translation. Hara has a literal and metaphorical meaning. Metaphorically, the Hara is the foundation. It's the strength and the power which each individual human being has. No one empowers you. You have the power. Hara is the unification of a person's physical, psychological, and emotional dimensions, which become the impetus and the basis for action. It balances the head and the heart, calling on them in turn as the situation demands. Hara is expressed through action, through doing. Hara shows courage. It does the hard stuff. It pushes when there are deadlines. It protects and tells others what they need to know but may not want to hear. Hara gets us to the goal. And if we fail, Hara owns the failure. Hara must be demonstrated in overt behavior. Words are not enough. And I can share with you, though, some simple ways to test your own Hara and to develop it, to make this real for you. Are you comfortable shouldering responsibility? Do you trust people enough to delegate? When you're in over your head, do you ask for help?
Just take a look at the evidence. Chief data and analytical officers who effectively acknowledge their own limits of their own expertise and who can embrace their own vulnerability as a trait are significantly more effective than those who don't, right? And I think with the pandemic and everything that's gone on after that, all three of these qualities, but especially Hara, strength and balance is what's important.
So we've been using this model for over 10 years, and the evidence is there. It works. Many times, it simply provides a framework and some concepts for what people are already doing, including many of you. The leaders we've met today have demonstrated the power of this model, and so do others that have adopted it. Nicola displayed Hara and a huge amount of perseverance to influence her business colleagues to share data, which ultimately led to her creating products that made the company millions in net new revenue. Kapu took the time to understand her stakeholders and focused on building relationships to ensure the success of her change initiative. Troy and Jonathan have shown the courage to employ unconventional people, invest in their success to significantly enhance the team performance. Jonathan, for example, has one of the most diverse IT teams we've encountered, and both men have been able to fill roles and retain talent based on a strong sense of team belonging and purpose. They inspire personal loyalty. If you truly want to be a better leader, a better colleague, a better life partner for that matter, think of the head, the heart, and Hara model, and the fact that it creates a paradox. The humility you need to admit that you don't know, the empathy that allows you to tell people the truth they need to hear, versus the false optimism and praise we all want to hear, and the courage it takes to get it done.
So, as you dig into all the amazing content that you're going to hear at this conference, evaluate those new trends, those new technologies that we'll be discussing, but I hope that you're going to continue to focus on purpose, people, and why for you, your team, and your organization. But don't just take it from us. Let's hear from Rita one last time.
How do we connect purpose to the work that we're doing? We find something that's truly meaningful to us, something that is in our heart, something that motivates us. And for some of us, this may not be at the core of what they do, but it may be tangential, or there may be a way to bring it in. And I think that what I look to do with my team is explain to them how that the very real work that they're doing right now, they think of it as data validation or data cleaning or endless models, but the result of all of that work is a very positive impact on somebody that you may not even see and that you may not even know. You may not even get to see the results, but you know that something good is happening. You need to dig a little deeper in your data, because all data at some level is about people and what people are experiencing or how people are being impacted. And so keep digging deeper. Is it about your customer? Are you seeing that your customer maybe has a need that you're fulfilling or not? Is it about a constituent, a resident, a client? What can you learn about that person who you're trying to serve? And when we take it in terms of people, I think it's very easy to make meaning from it and see that connection to our heart. I think intrinsically, most of us care about other people and we want them to be happy and successful. And so find the way in which your data is about people, and it will be very easy to stay inspired.
There you go. It's all about the people. And you're definitely in the right place this week to get inspired. Now, take another look around you at all the collective experience and knowledge in this room. It's amazing. While you're here, think of yourself as both a student and a teacher. It doesn't matter if you're a team lead. It doesn't matter if you're a head of a function or a CDAO or an individual contributor. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself a technologist, a data expert, or a business person. Don't consider yourself a people person? Doesn't matter. You can do what other leaders have done. Listen to their stories and tell them your own. Share your successes and share your failures. No matter what your role, your position, your background, every single person in this room, every single person can lead for purpose and connect with trust. And as we continue to speak with many of you, we can't wait to hear the incredible ways you're making an impact.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Hey, good job.
I know you never felt this way.